Thank you very much. I appreciate you and Senator Boozman having this hearing. It's an incredibly important topic. Thank you. You got a hard job. It's kind of a mystery, all this Bitcoin to a lot in these tokens, and I appreciate you doing the job that you're doing it so well. I have really two questions. As I understand it, in your testimony, you said that CFTC lacks the authority to regulate the cash spot markets for Bitcoin. Is that right?
That's right, correct.
Okay. And that's one of the few investment tools available for investors to invest in cryptocurrency. So should Congress expand the CFTC's authority to include cash spot markets, the CFTC's enforcement authorities would likely need to increase beyond anti-fraud, right? So do you believe that the disclosure process for digital commodities should be the same as the current current requirements for physical commodities?
So, Senator, thanks for the question. And it's a really important one because I think a lot of the debate around the two agencies and the historical record of the CFTC and what it's oriented towards really misses some of the points around what we're trying to accomplish and what gap we're trying to fill. This is exclusively what I've called for several years now, legislation around commodity tokens. And if you look at commodity tokens, and this really goes to your question, or commodity assets, whether it's corn, soybeans, natural gas, or oil, the disclosure regime that's built around commodities is really market and risk based. It's not actually about the commodity. And I think the best way to think about it is if you think about wheat, for example, what would you disclose about wheat on a periodic or a constant basis, on a quarterly or annual basis? Wheat is a decentralized commodity. It's grown all across the world. You wouldn't be able to disclose to an investor of a wheat futures contract what exactly the risks are associated with investing in the commodity itself. And I think that's very important to juxtapose against the Securities and Exchange Commission and corporate disclosures around centralized entities that have executive teams, boards of directors, audited financial statements, material risks to their business. And that's the information that bridges a gap between a company that's issuing stock and an investor. You want that investor to know as much information about all of that corporate issuance so that they can make the best informed decision. That doesn't exist on the commodity side. So I would think as it relates to digital tokens, we would have to be consistent around disclosures as they relate to market risk and material risk as it relates to the token itself. Some very characteristic-driven disclosures around the token and what an investor might need to know before they make an investment.
Thank you very much. Another question, but I think we're under surveillance here. Mr. French, Representative French Hill just came in.
I was going to mention that, Senator Welch. So we do have one of the leaders in the House on the bill that passed.
We've all got to be on our best behavior. Welcome. The second question is about the energy consumption. I mean, this isn't necessarily in the regulatory space, but there is some question, I think, about what disclosures have to be made. It's an astonishing amount of energy use in this new domain. What I understand is crypto mining accounted for 2.3% of domestic electricity demand, as much electricity as the entire state of West Virginia or Utah combined last year. That's going to go up, especially as there's more mining related to it, and there's real implications, not just the increase in the amount of energy, but it has an impact on ratepayers in Vermont and elsewhere. And I'm concerned about that. You know, what are the side consequences? Folks who have nothing to do with the whole market are not in it. It doesn't affect their lives, but it does affect their electricity bill, or it could. So my question is, with the energy demand from crypto placing a heavy burden on our electric grid and consequent potential price increases for everyday consumers, particularly with the demands that are imposed by the extreme weather, is there any room for the CFTC to consider requiring climate risk disclosures for crypto mining operations?
Thanks, Senator. So again, that would fall within the remit of legislation. So if that's something you want to consider, my team is happy to work with you and your staff to figure out a way to accomplish that. I'm certainly aware of this issue and the consumption of energy as it relates to mining of tokens. We've observed this over a number of years, and it has ebbed and flowed. And I think to credit some in the industry, there has been efforts to shift towards renewable energy sources as opposed to traditional fossil fuel-based sources. But again, the numbers are staggering in some instances. And in this moment where we have high energy costs, huge new demands from artificial intelligence, it's certainly something that we need to think about. And I think in previous efforts to create authority, there have been provisions in potential bills around studying this issue at the CFTC with our other federal partners, Department of Energy, FERC, and otherwise, to see what is actually happening on the ground, how much energy is being used, where are the pockets of demand, how it's affecting communities across the country, and whether or not there are any solutions to both reduce that demand or potentially to shift it to less intensive renewable sources. So an issue we're thinking about, but certainly would welcome the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you very much, Senator Gillibrand. Let me first thank you for all of your wonderful work in a broader sense. We know that our jurisdiction is commodities in the CFTC, but very much appreciate your efforts in this area.
Well, thank